Right, what's going on everyone? So in today's video, we're going to be looking at some tips that you can do and you can apply into your game to make you a much better player. Now these are all professional tips that I've seen inside of the community, as well as tips that I do on a very frequent basis that's allowed me to become a much better player. Whether or not you're a PvE or PvP player, I'm sure this video is going to have something for you. I have seen pretty much all of these tips used in the higher tier bracket of players, and I believe that this video will have something for you to learn. So if this is your first time tuning into the channel, my experience inside of the community is first of all being a Sea of Thieves Creator Crew partner, and as well as being a founder and a creator of a professional PvP and PvE team, that is the Athena's Flame. And finally, I'm also a member of the Pirate Council, so they are a few of the things that I have under my belt. With all of that being said though, this entire video is my opinion, and if you have some good professional tips, please put them down in the comments, because like you, I'd love to learn. So with all of that out of the way, some of these tips are going to be very specific, and other tips are going to be open-ended for you to do what you want with. Let's start off with some open-ended ones. So starting off very basic, we're going to be talking about hotkeys. Now hotkeys are very essential, and if you are a PC player, I'm sure you've got them, but you don't really utilize them. Now you can essentially assign anything you want with hotkeys, but the things we're going to be focusing on here are weapons and different bits of food. Now the reason I say that is because they are the two things you're going to need in any situation. You need health and you also need damage. But either way, I'm not going to specifically tell you what you need to assign to your hotkeys and where they need to go. I just want to get that idea in your head so you can think about it moving forward. Personally though, I have C bound for fruit, and I have two side buttons on my mouse bounded for different weapons. And for the rare times that I'm on my controller, what I have is my left analog click in for fruit, that way I don't have to go to the radial wheel, and my right analog click for the different weapon switches. But either way, there's no right or wrong key you can use, just do something that is comfortable for you. Moving on. So the next tip is also another one that is fairly basic, but it does need to be mentioned. Again, I'm not going to go too far into it, I'm just going to give you some examples and just let you know that there's some things you can do to improve your gaming experience. So for this tip, we're going to be talking about audio cues. So audio cues are almost more important than the visual cues inside the game. Audio cues can tell you whether or not you have boarders on your ship, ancient skeletons on islands, or people running around with kegs, weapons, or whatever. Now every single item and action in this game has an audio cue, so just because you can't see someone doesn't mean you can't hear them. So the way you can utilize this is by turning up your SFX volume all the way in the settings and then putting everything down to around 30 or 40%. Give it a try, let me know what you think. This will eliminate audio clashing as well as turning down some of the sounds that you don't really need. So moving on now to the next tip. So this tip here is something that's known very widely but is definitely not utilized, or at least not that I've seen. So as you know, different bits of food have different bits of healing. For example, a pineapple will heal all of your health while a banana won't do quite as much. What I propose, instead of going for different bits of fruit, take a look at different bits of meat and different fish. Of course they'll need to be cooked, and the reason I say you'll need to invest in that is because instead of just doing bits of health, it'll also give you regen. So essentially it won't refill all of your health if you do take a bite out of a fish or a bite out of the meat, but it is going to give you some regen ability. That way if you're in the middle of a fight and you take a little bit of damage, you don't have to worry about equipping some fruit to fix it, your regen will do it for you. Of course this does take a setup, but when you are on the seas you do a lot of sailing, so of course you're going to find the time. So finally, moving on to the last tip of today's video. Now this one is probably the most important in my opinion, and it's one that isn't known, but once you do perfect the little action, I promise you you're not going to do anything but use it. And this is widely disputed to whether or not it's an exploit or a game mechanic. Now the reason I say it's a game mechanic and not an exploit is because this has been out since launch. If anyone from Rare did find a problem with it, I'm sure they would have patched it a very long time ago. But either way, let me know what you think. Do you think it's an exploit or if it's a game mechanic? I'd love to hear. So we're going to be talking about fast swimming now. So fast swimming is the action of getting some bit of loot or pretty much anything in your hands from the ship to an island in a considerable amount of quicker time. This can be achieved by dropping and picking up the loot while sprinting or fast swimming in the water. So you can achieve the fast swimming game mechanic by doing a sprint, which can be done with your analog sticks or with shift depending on what you're playing on, dropping the loot with X or B, then picking it up the exact second you drop it while still sprinting. This can also be done on the land and in the water, it's completely up to you. So this game mechanic, like all of them, takes a while to perfect, but once you learn it, I promise you, you're not going to stop using it. So the only downside to this game mechanic that you're going to find is if you're like me and you're an Australian in some sort of EU or North American server, or pretty much any server that's not part of the Oceania, you're going to notice that the ping is going to not allow you to do it. This works on anything. If you're playing in a foreign server, the ping will not allow you to do this game mechanic. But either way, I find myself most of the time playing in my own servers, so it's not much of an issue. So in conclusion, all of the little game mechanics and tips that I mentioned in this video are things that I use on a daily basis. And these tips have allowed me to elevate to a better player, as well as increased my performance and overall gameplay. Now, some of these tips may work for you, some of them may not. and of course you may know some better tips. So as I said, if you got any really good tips that I didn't mention in this video, please put them down in the comment section so people can learn from your ways. If you decide to use any of these tips, it'll be amazing if you could share it with your friends so they can have a look at how to do them, and also leave a like on the video to show your support. Going forward, we're going to be doing a lot more guides, so if that's something you're into, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because together we're going to work out ways for you to become a much better player. Also, if you want to ask some questions, please go down to the description and check out my Discord. Not only will you be able to reach out to me, we also do frequent loot giveaways, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.